Welcome to episode 11 of Chat with the S-Men. We're here today at Kingley, and we're going to be talking with these fine gentlemen, JP and Dan, about what they do, and it'll be very exciting. Clothing, exactly.
My topic.
I don't want to talk about this.
We're bringing some class. We're bringing some class to Calgary today, exactly. Ladies and gentlemen. Yes, that's what we're doing.
Right. I'm actually not wearing a toque or a t-shirt. I know where I like a first. Well, not really.
I like that shirt that you're wearing today too.
Right? Yeah. It's
nice, clean powder blue shirt.
Complements the suit beautifully. Yeah. Can't go wrong.
Damn, the boys got it going on.
I know.
Hate to brag, but I'm sure you guys can make it look even better. But we'll get around to that later. We have other stuff. Come on, man.
We just have to keep up with our clients. That's about it.
Right.
That's it. That's all we do.
We got to pay our bills here. So wonderful. Thank you for tuning in for episode 11. Of course, we'd like to thank our sponsors. I'll let you take that away.
Sure, which is, as always, TEEMA Solutions. For managed services and recruitment solutions across North America. Pink Weasel for keeping us caffeinated and with a very nice blend. We have our own blend actually nowadays.
Ooh,
Yes Men blend.
There we go.
That's right.
Maybe if we get a proper coffee machine.
So we'll yes, I'll bring a bag around. I've got some. I have some at home. I just thought I'd bring it.
Part of the Chat with the S-Men network, if you will.
Yes, Spandex Panda, which is clothing. So that's cycle wear, but it's harks back to the 50s and 60s merino wool type style stuff. So
beautiful.
There you
nice.
go.
There's some nice stuff in there. Yeah, yeah, nice, good in that range. So yeah, take a look.
100%.
Maybe something you could talk to Curtis about.
Excellent. Yeah, and don't forget to go to chatwiththesmen.com. We have all of the social links there. We have Instagram. We have Facebook. Still don't have TikTok because I don't get it, and I don't really want to. Threads. iHeartRadio, and of course all the places you can listen to us as well. I almost forgot about that, right? So of course if you're watching us now, you're seeing us on
anything else, just iHeartRadio.
Yeah, right. You're seeing us on YouTube, so definitely like those likes, subscribes, comments. They help us out a lot. The algorithm works that way. The more you like, the more you thumbs up the whole lot, the better.
Loving the feedback so far.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, some good comments there as well. One day we'll actually read some comments online.
Yeah,
maybe today, but not really sure. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting off topic here. Don't forget, you can also iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, pretty much everything. Apparently, we're also on Amazon Podcasts because when
when did that happen?
It's probably always been that way. I think it's because we're with Podbean, so Podbean is like the distributor. Once you're on there, it just kind of throws out that XML feed to or RSS feed to all.
No way.
Yeah, so we're on Amazon.
I still like iHeartRadio.
All right, so cool. Right?
As soon as I hear iHeartRadio, I'm like Radio Carolina. I'm on a ship in international waters. You know what I mean? Pre-Radio One. Pre-Radio One.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, we're on equal footing with like Virgin Radio because they're on iHeartRadio as well. Yeah. Whoa, jeez.
100%. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
So,
we just haven't got the music. We don't need the music now.
No. We don't need the music right now.
So, but yeah, I'm excited about this episode, obviously.
Yes.
Because it's with these guys from Kingley, which is JP, the owner, and Dan. And you work hard on bringing a bit of style, don't we?
We definitely try our best.
The city.
We do.
We definitely try our best.
100%. It is a daily. It's a daily goal of ours.
So why don't we start with the story, JP? We've chatted. I know that there's a lot that you had a time in the IT recruitment industry or the oil and gas recruitment industry here in Calgary with a company we both know, and we still know the game. So where did it? I guess one at a time, or tell us about the story. How did we get to now? How did Kingley come about?
I think that without me knowing it, Kingley kind of started at that recruitment company.
I do remember Lee saying at one point when he was describing the team to me that he said, and the more I talk to you, the more it's coming back into my mind. He said, Simon, there's one dude in my team that just looks like, because he's from London, so we've both worked in London. He says, I've got a dude that he literally looks like he's just walked out of Savile Row every single morning when he comes into the office.
Damn. There you go.
And it must have been you. But anyway, carry on.
I loved it. I thought it was like the best thing ever. I was 18 years old, working on Stephen Avenue in Calgary, and wearing a suit and tie to work every day. My mom is a seamstress, so she sews handmade Indian garments, so saris, langas, everything. That was always her thing. My grandmother always sewed as well too. So when I ended up coming here and got a job in recruitment, especially working for a posh UK firm that mandated everybody to wear suits all the time.
Yep.
You know, at that time, I was young enough that I was still living at home. I didn't have crazy money to go blow on these beautiful suits, but I loved menswear. So I always found different pieces from all over. So I used to go to the thrift shop, used to go to Goodwill, I used to go to Value Village, go to cheaper suit stores around town here, Les Chateaux at that time, Express was big at that time. And then my mom would always alter all of my clothing to fit me. So it's like the age old saying, if you can make a $200 suit look like $1,000, but it just depends on how it fits you.
Correct.
Right? So I think that without me knowing it, that's kind of that's like where like Kingley was born inside the back of my head.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the oil and gas business kind of winded down in 2016 and they went through a pretty hard recession, our team size went from 40 to 10 and I was still with them at the time. And so it's only a matter of time before I'm going to get let go as well.
Yeah.
And so one of my friends had actually introduced me to a tailor, his own personal tailor that custom made his suits. And I always said, man, when I get my first commission check, the first thing that I'm buying is a custom made suit from this guy. So sure as shit, made my first placement, first commission check, went straight to this guy, got my first ever custom made suit done through him. And he had a very similar vibe to what we're trying to kind of create in our space here. He had the top floor of a house that was converted into office spaces. You're walking up the stairs, there's this vintage map of Italy painted along the wall. Come inside, sit down, grab a glass of scotch, go through the fabric books, design out your entire piece with him. And then he had his stuff made, and then he would get sent back, and then he would do the second fitting with you at his shop. And I was just like, this is the fucking coolest business ever. And this is what I want to do the rest of my life. So I was living at home at the time, and I didn't have a crazy amount of expenses. My parents were still here. So I went to this tailor and I said, hey, listen, it's only a matter of months before I'm getting let go as well. Could be weeks. I'll quit my job tomorrow and come work for you for free. Just teach me everything that you know. Oh, so I did my apprenticeship program with him for a year and a half.
No way.
Yeah. So, and during that time, I had the chance to go to London, and I actually got to see Savile Row and Oxford Street and German Street, which is like the home of Bespoke.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And seeing the camaraderie that all the shops on that one street had, it would basically be like walking down Stephen Avenue here, and every single store on your left or right was a menswear store.
Yep. But
there was this unity that the menswear culture had that was in the UK that nowhere else had.
And a retained, the other thing that goes with that is a retained client base.
Yes.
And a loyalty.
Yes.
So once you had your shop, your man, your person, then that's where you went.
Yeah.
100%.
Which I get, my family still chirp me on that. It's like, I go to the same place. It took me a while to find him, but I went to the same place, same barber, sit in the same chair.
Yep.
We're creatures of habit at the end of the day, right?
100%.
Yes. But there's something wonderful about that experience, as you and I were talking about when we first met. There's something wonderful about that as well. I fear that it's been lost. Some of it's starting to get lost on society.
That's true.
Because people still need to feel that.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Still need to feel that experience, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was it. So recruitment into menswear. You, Dan, though, yours was a different...
Little bit of a different path. I mean, it wasn't as cut and dry. It was very different. When I was in my early 20s, I was in a completely different industry. So I started working on cars. So I was doing vehicle wrapping, window tinting, the 3M, the clear shield that you see on, or you don't see on cars. And then I was 20 years old, living at home, making probably more money than I should, just between both my side work and work through the company. And then I eventually just started buying a ton of clothes. I worked 5 days a week, and then I took all my money and I just fell in love with buying clothes. But I was kind of buying clothes in the wrong way. I was buying a lot of designer brands, and I was just going after really high-end expensive stuff because it had a label on it. And then I got pretty sick and bored of my job, so I went to England for a little bit because I have family that lives in England. So I lived with them for about 4 months. Mm-hmm. And then I spent some time, I was always in and out of the country and then the city. So I spent some time in England and I, once again,
That's an important dynamic to experience.
It is 100%, because I went there and same thing. I went on Oxford Street, German Street, like just Savile Row and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And as we were mentioning earlier, it's quite literally its own world.
Yep.
Like you're on a street, and then it's so unique and so cool, and there's just almost a different vibe to it. And then you see the people walking up and down, you see the shops, you see, how beautiful everything can be and how well tailored everything can be. And then you step outside that street and you're just like, holy shit, you're just back into fucking
you're back into
corporate London, right?
Normalcy,
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, for me it was just, and then I just looked at the way men presented and took care of themselves, and I was like, oh damn, like we do it really fucking poorly here.
Mm-hmm.
So
cosmetics, I think male cosmetics I don't know whether it still is, but it was the fastest growing industry in the world for a number of years.
Mm-hmm.
Oh damn.
So we're talking all the usual, hence the reason why now when you go into, look what's happened over the last few years in any supermarket you go in now. Like you used to be able to get a shaving brush and all of that kind of stuff, whereas now there's a whole
section for it.
Whole section for it, and whatever type of cream you want to put in, and as you get older, we've got the anti-aging stuff, which still
all that skincare.
Dan started using that last week,
right?
No, I told
same for me as well. Yeah.
Honestly, I told my wife only one of us can afford that right now, and unfortunately, it's her. So it's ridiculous.
The amount.
Expensive.
Oh yeah,
it's insane.
It's
crazy.
nuts. But it's, I mean, it comes to, I don't know, it kind of comes hand in hand to kind of what we've said, and I guess where we'll get to in our chat. But it's I'm interested to learn what experience have you had since being open to now? What have you been seeing in terms of the way your general customers are? Have you seen your general custom increase because people want to look, starting to come back into that? I want a tailored look. I want a bespoke look. When I wear a suit, I want to own a suit. I just don't, you know what I mean? I'm not wearing, we were talking about this a second ago, weren't we? So I was watching a podcast by Guy Ritchie, the film producer.
Yeah.
And
the gentleman,
yeah. I've seen the series.
I just started last night, me and my fiance.
I've just started watching it a second time already. My wife's like, "You're obsessed." I'm like, "I don't care."
The show's fantastic. I think we've had 6 different messages since that show came out, being like, "Hey, can you do this suit? Hey, can you do that suit?"
I was about to ask that. Yeah. It's got to, because he is, as he said on his podcast with Joe Rogan, he talks about it. It's like, if you're going to own your situation. And then he puts it into the suit, right? So if you're wearing a suit, you're going to own the suit. And he's not talking about the financial piece. Mm-hmm. He's talking about the mental aspect, the confidence in the human putting it on. Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm wearing this suit, God damn it, and I'm owning everything that comes with it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which to me is where tailoring comes from. That's where suits come from. Like you, JP, I worked for a lot of years with a company in the UK where it was suits. Full stop.
Yeah.
Had to be.
Yeah. And
it also had to be a white shirt.
Yeah.
So I actually didn't have, if you looked in my closet back in the UK, it was suits, white shirts, and I got called out actually on a corporate training week that I was on, and I was a manager at the time, and I had a 3-piece suit. And I thought, it's one of those times where you get dressed and you're like, I look pretty damn good.
Yeah.
But I had, I look pretty damn good. Yeah. For wins and not, looked, and walked in and was immediately called out because I had a blue shirt on.
Oh, damn.
It was like, you've got a blue shirt on. Like,
but I have a 3-piece suit and a tie.
It goes together.
Yeah. It's like, and that was it. It's like blue collar, no.
So this shirt wouldn't have done it then.
Oh no, no. In fact, in the earlier, I'm still talking as if I am. I mean, they always said you never left them, and I guess I haven't in many ways. But you'd in the early days you'd have been sent home. Mm-hmm. I've sent members of my own team home for wearing a shirt like that.
Oh, that's crazy. I should send members of my team home if they come in wearing a sweater.
It's like dress code. dress code, and that was
I still look damn good in a sweater, all right?
I think it's just like a little bit of jealousy that I can't make a sweater look good without looking fat in it. So when Dan walks in wearing a sweater, I'm like, "You mother-"
Son of a piece of pig.
Yeah, I've got a bit of that going as well. I was looking at it, I was like, son of a bitch. He can still do the high waist trousers and they still look good.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, all right, whatever.
It's nice when your garments with no pinning fit a mannequin perfectly.
Can this not be the How Skinny is Dan podcast? That would be fantastic. It would really. I go through all day people asking me how I'm so skinny and why I'm so skinny and I should put on weight. I really love to skip over that one today.
So the transition from London out east, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So I when I came home, I just wanted to really bring a little bit of my own. I wanted to bring my own part back from London and do everything that I could to try and help men or educate them and do like the smallest part that I could to bring it back over here. And so when I came back, I went back to my old job just to kind of get my feet wet because I went broke going in London, in England. So I went back to my old job and the guy that I worked with, he used to do like handmade leather. But it was for motorcycles and whatever else. So I was just like... Saddlery, yeah, essentially, yeah. So I was like, I want to do leather shoes. Like that was my whole big thing. I was like, I'm gonna do shoes because I love shoes, like boot shoes. And JP will probably laugh at this now because I wear like 3 different pairs of shoes. But I like still. There's nothing like a good boot or a good shoe that's like well done, right?
Yep.
And so my friend just looked at me and he's like, why don't you start with belts? Easier transition, less money, not as complicated, yada, yada, yada. So I was like, okay, cool. So I started making leather belts and started like my own Instagram page for them. And I found that the more that I made belts and then I built outfits around them to take pictures, people just liked my outfits more than they liked my belts. So I was just like, cool. So I just started really building outfits. I started my Instagram page that took off pretty quickly in and around like 2019. And then I just said, fuck it. I quit my job, went to go work at a shoe store. And then from there, did a lot of personal styling for the mall that I worked in.
Just
for menswear. I didn't do women's personal styling, but I did a lot of I did a lot of the displays in and around the mall. So a lot of the fashion displays. So I did both men and women.
Yep.
And then I took over the men's personal styling platform for them all. And then from there, got into off-the-rack suiting. And then, very similar to JP, in all honesty, I went to this company where they did made to measure. And you walk in, they give you a glass of scotch, they give you, or coffee or water, and then they just walk you through the whole process. And I was like, oh, this is
mind-bending, isn't it?
This is cool. Like everybody should get the opportunity to experience this, right? Like it's just a different way to shop. It's a little bit more unique, and then it's not just you're not in and out. You're not a member, yada yada yada. You're more like a customer. The relationship aspect is there, and then your buying time is significantly longer as well too. So
I think that's a great segue into a question I have to ask about this as well. Somebody who has not gone through this before. 3 all have. I have not. So can you dispel any myths, I guess, about it? How? Sure. What's it like to come? What do I expect? How does this work? Somebody like me who's never done this before.
It's like being addicted to crack.
Fantastic.
But better.
Fantastic. I've always wanted to try crack.
And arguably more expensive.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah.
It could be pretty even depending on what you're buying.
Well, you always get what you pay for as well, right? If you're going to get yourself a $10 shirt from Walmart, it's going to be a $10 shirt from Walmart. So you learn this over time for sure. But I just come in, say hi. My name is Jason. I need a suit. How does this get?
I mean, typically we'd honestly know your name before you came in. Right, like there's nobody that comes in where we don't know their name, right? Like that's the whole point. You would get a hold of me or JP and you would say, hey, like I'm looking for suit for a wedding, or I need a new suit for a job or whatever, and at that point it would be we have an appointment set up for you and you would come in and we would already know who you are.
Wonderful.
Would people, leaning on what Jay just said, and I'm going to sound old school here, but Do you typically see people come in and immediately buy, or do you have people come in 2 or 3 visits so that you guys, because it's like this to me is a relation. It's like it's a relationship. So it's the whole, and you can't necessarily do that on an email.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think to Dan's point, the reason that we know who you are before you walk through the door is because of the way that like our company's positioned, right? We're on the 2nd floor, we're a showroom, there's no exterior signage outside. It's not like somebody could just stumble in and be like, oh, look at this, a suit shop. I've been looking for one of these things, right? It's always through referral or it's only recent that we've started to get people calling us off of Google because they see our name popping up on different pages on, I don't know, we've been on Yelp, we've been on Reddit recently.
Yeah, that's a new one.
Well, it's a fantastic name. Honestly.
Thank you.
It really
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was going to say, you're already hero status with my daughter.
Yeah.
I love it.
Because she likes the, this story.
Yeah.
She likes the Kingman, right? So she's like, the Kingly. So
I love it.
It's like Kingsman.
Manners maketh the man. I'm like, just calm down.
Love it. So I think that when we see a lot of clients coming in on a referral basis from someone that has already recommended them, I'd say it's like 98% of the time they're usually buying there and then, or like, let's say if it's for a wedding and a gentleman wants to come in for a consultation by himself, just come and take a look at what we offer. Yep. If they're vetting a few other suit shops that are within the city, we'll walk them through the process of what's called an initial consultation. And so that's where we just sit down, get to know you a little bit better, understand what you do for work, how you're going to be wearing the garment, where you're going to be wearing this garment. And then, with no pun intended, we can tailor a specific piece of clothing for you for whatever you might need that specific piece for, right?
Got it.
So I would say that usually most people, once they walk in, if they're not buying there and then,
next visit,
it's shortly thereafter, whether it's a week or 10 days.
Got it. And then it just increase. Then it's just you. I'm assuming you just, having met you both now, it's just kind of repeat as soon as you want that's how I see you guys, because I'm kind of like, I'm looking at the jacket there, I'm looking at the jeans there, and I'm kind of like, cool, I'm covered here. I don't need to go anywhere else.
That's the end goal, in all honesty. It really is. Like, the jeans were an addition last September, and that's obviously done really well, just because it's a very popular market. And then I think by the end of this year, knitwear is the goal as well too. So realistically, apart from your Lululemons, the goal is
being able to manage a client's wardrobe through and through.
Start to finish. I could see this definitely like driving more sales for you. There's the delayed gratification of it as well. Like, if you go, again, got to name drop Walmart, sorry, but you can get a shirt right away. But we've all had to plan ahead where, I want to go looking good at the dance bar. I'm going to get these jeans, but they're too big for me. I have to get them altered, and you're like, you're dying for them for the 4 days and the alteration, and you get them like, I'm gonna look awesome this Friday, right? So I can imagine the same thing as well with coming to talk to you. If they're not walking off clothing right away, it will be within a week.
Absolutely.
100%.
And they'll be so much happier with it because of that delayed gratification as well.
I mean, that's a long topic in itself, in all honesty. Is just where the world's going is like we give a very, like, our buying experience is significantly different to what we're all used to. So
do you think so on the retail? I guess we're going to kind of go into a bit of retail here, but I think, do you guys see that do you see the change in the market? Because I'm and let me back that up. I mean, Jay and I have, to me, shopping can be stressful. Yeah. Talking as dudes, 100%. Like, shopping can be stressful. Yeah. I don't want the stress. So for me, for an individual, for me to be able to walk into, and I know people very well at car dealers, so like they'll send me a text and go, hey, come and have a look at this, and they'll know as soon as they start it up, like, conversation's over and they've got a sale. Just because they know me. My friend at the bike shop, she'll send me a text and go, there's a sale on, you want one of these? I'm like, I really don't. But I can see the same. I could see the same happening with this kind of setup here. But my point is, like Jason and I, we're only two guys. Do you see it generally changing in retail that way in terms of multiples, or do you kind of still see your future still as bespoke?
I think that COVID really fucked the menswear industry up for a little bit. Yeah. So we'll touch on that first, because prior to COVID, there was this, there was a lot more people wearing suits, right? Whether you're a banker downtown or if you're a lawyer downtown. A lot of business guys that are in different industries all had to go to work looking nice and sharp, right? And then COVID hit and everybody wore shorts and t-shirts and everybody worked from home. And if you had to be on a Zoom call, you're wearing a jacket with a pair of fucking shorts on underneath.
Or your boxers, if depending on
right. Right. Yeah. So I think that now, ever since we've seen a lot of business professionals getting back into the workforce, though they still might be restricted to doing a work from home environment where they're in the office, like a hybrid model where they're in the office 3 days a week and working from home 2 days a week. We're starting to see a lot more companies now mandating that people need to start dressing up. You can't just be wearing shorts and a t-shirt coming into work all the time. You have to be able to represent that organization that you work for, and just because. And
which is representation of self as well, isn't it?
Absolutely.
100%. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. So we're starting to see a swing back the other direction now.
Okay.
But I don't think that it's going to be. We don't sell as many full two-piece suits and white-collar dress shirts as we once did. The model has changed to gentlemen wanting to wear what's called separates. So it's what Dan and I are currently wearing right now. We have a sport jacket on, a different color pair of trousers. We can mix and match different shirts with everything. And then the denim has been a real big kickoff for us as well too, because you see a lot of gentlemen wearing a nice sport jacket.
With jeans.
Exactly. With a nice pair of tailored denim. I'm not talking about your ripped acid wash denim that people once wore, right? Just very nice, clean pair of dark denim that you can pair with a sport jacket. And we're starting to see different things happening with people's footwear as well. A lot of guys nowadays are gearing away from from dress shoes, and getting more into a loafer style shoe or into a really nice clean sneaker. So
huge right now.
I love that, and that's what disappointed me tonight, because I'd got a different pair of pants ready to go, different shoes. So again, I had and I'm talking Grensons and Chinis and Barkers and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
All of which again I used to live in.
Yeah.
The Bugsies, as I called them.
Yeah.
So the old kind of prohibition days where you got the two-tone, so white and tan leather shoes, all of that kind of stuff.
Right.
Brogues.
Yeah.
I've got all of those. But again, the shoe aspect is. I'm glad you've said that, because that's always bugged me about Calgary, because everybody looks great from the ankles up, but they ignore what's on their feet.
Absolutely. And it's just I've never understood it, why guys will go and spend $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 on a pair on a nice suit and a dress shirt, and then they'll go to Aldo for a pair of dress shoes.
Right. And
you're wearing the dress shoes for 8 hours a day, 6 days a week, 5 days a week.
Blisters galore.
And sadly the logic too behind it, and I really hate to say this, but it's just, you can go spend $500 on a pair of dress shoes. Yes, it's an initial investment of $500, but if you go to Aldo, you're going to spend $160 on a pair of shoes, and then 3 months later you're going to spend another $160, and then 3 months later another $160, and then next thing you know, by the end of the year, you're either at the equivalent of a nice pair of $500 shoes, or you're more expensive, depending on how fast you burn through them. So it's just the logic, unfortunately, is just a little skewed in that department.
What are we talking logic there, or are we talking a little bit of education?
I think that
maybe
it's also partially education as well, man. Yeah. That's what we're trying to do, is trying to educate the customer, to tell them
because you can, all of my shoes. In fact, sadly, I've just outed some of them because I'd already had them rebuilt. But basically, if you get originally I'm from Leicester, which is just north of Northampton, which is still huge shoe manufacturing spot of the world, and they're still building shoes.
Yeah.
So what we're talking about there is a welted sole, Goodyear welted sole. You've still got guys there that are putting the cork on and then layering up the leather and stitching it, cutting it, and all of that kind of stuff. So if you buy the right shoe in the first place, you can have the shoe rebuilt.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so the shoes, yes, and I had this conversation with my wife at the time, which is why I'm smiling, because I'm like, it's literally, you repeated everything that I said to her. She's like, you spent how much on a pair of shoes? I'm like, babe, they're going to be around forever. And she's like, how can a pair of shoes be around forever? I'm like,
Watch.
Quality,
right?
Yeah.
12 years later, I mean, yes, 12 years later, the uppers are the same, but new soles, all of that kind of stuff. However, scale of economies.
Yeah. Scale of economies, but also it's like, I think it's commitment to keeping it in good shape, which is what, and it goes like, it's logic, but then I also think that it comes down to a fact of like, a lot of guys don't want to spend the time buying shoe trees, or like they don't want to buy shoe trees, which are very important to maintaining shoes. They don't want to spend, 10 minutes one night just giving them a quick polish. And honestly, like I can speak to that. Ever since I had a daughter, my time is significantly less at night, right? Like I don't have nearly as much time between work and between going home and spending time with her and spending time with my wife.
How old's your daughter?
She's 1 year and 7 months. So
phenomenal age. So she's going to be hilarious in the next 12 months.
She already is hilarious. She's hilarious and aggressive. That's my daughter.
That's just going to be hilarious. But the thing is because I'm hearing you, but I also want to put another point over that is that both of my kids know that, but they also know that, like, Dad's got his own certain way. Like shoes are in a box, suits are in a bag. And every now and again, all the shoes and all the boots will come out, and all the laces will be out, and the brushes will be out. And my youngest, when she was probably your daughter's age right now, like she had a shoe brush in her hand.
That's awesome.
Love it.
I remember being fascinated with shoe brushes as a little kid too.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is like, I got to get Isla on polishing my shoe.
You got to get.
100%.
Yeah, you just introduced that at an early age.
There we go. Here's a brush. Here's some polish.
When I used to live with my brothers, I used to always polish my shoes on Sunday nights, and the dog would always just come and just like sit beside me, because we always just, when you're polishing with the shoe brush, right? Always horsehair shoe brush.
Yep.
And so he could smell
Right.
the hairs, right? So he'd literally just be sitting there like glued right beside me and just trying to bite the brush. So I always had a companion whenever I was polishing my shoes. But it's the same thing as what you said. If you buy a good pair of shoes, you take care of them, they take care of you, right? You have good shoe trees in them, right? When you're out from walking in this slush, you come home, like if you clean them properly, you wipe the salt off your shoes, you take care of the shoes. I've had pairs of shoes last me 5-6 years, no problem, right? And all the shoes that we'll make, all the dress shoes that we'll make for clients will all be Goodyear welted, cork soles, through and through, for the reason that should you ever need to get your soles replaced, it's very easy to do so.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, yes. The other thing is finding the right cobbler in the first place.
That's perfect, because like that industry is dying massively, right?
It's
like
so
they're
sad.
so far few
so
between, because that's it. Like, and I think that comes down to it. It's just like people don't want to sit there and have their shoes resold. They don't want to sit there and polish them. They don't want to do anything. It's like, I'm gonna spend $160 on shoes. 3 months later, I'll throw them out, and then I'll go buy another pair. And that and that's kind of what I mean by logic, right? Like the it's a little skewed, because like the boots I'm wearing today, I bought 6.5 years ago.
Right, and
they look brand new.
Yes, because I looked at those and I was like, ooh, new shoes.
Yeah, most of my shoes are about 6.5, 7 years old.
It's funny, of all we're talking about shoes so much. It's of all the outfits I've ever worn for any reason whatsoever, it was the shoes to me that make or broke the outfit. And when the shoes I bought, albeit not $500, when they finally wore down, they couldn't be fixed. It was devastating. Mm-hmm. Then there was the mall crawling looking for, I need to find a pair of shoes that replace this, or exactly the same ones again. Then I've actually thought about buying, like, I like them so much, I'm going to buy 3 more. I've been there. Yeah. But when I get a good pair of shoes, man, I am John Travolta strutting down the street with the Bee Gees playing.
Just a snap of the finger.
But there's also, back to what we're talking about in terms of style, like a right pair of shoes can make a shitty pair of jeans and a flipping crappy t-shirt look really good.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So kind of like what you were saying earlier on, like a belt, good pair of shoes, and then where it starts.
Yep.
But in terms of the general style, though, like we're all sitting here in a jacket where the style hasn't changed for decades.
Yeah,
and people don't argue that.
Yeah, you're very right.
So why is the mentality around footwear like, oh well, I'll just do that? Whereas a suit, somebody will go, I'm going to buy a suit, and that's going to be my suit. Then it's going to fit me, God damn it, forever, right?
No, that's a good point. I don't actually really know how to.
I think it's the price point that dictates that, right? So like when you're looking at a full custom made suit, you're looking at $1,500, let's say, is your average price.
Yeah.
If you get a couple dress shirts along with that order, now you're close to $1,800. So when you're spending $1,800 versus somebody just looking at a pair of shoes and going, okay, these are only $300, like whatever, I can just replace these over and over. But if I'm buying a suit, I want that suit. Like that suit's gonna last me forever, right? Yeah. So I see. I in my head, I think that it's price point. It could be something else, but I think it's just value buying for customers, basically.
And we're back to what you said earlier on about being in folks' wardrobe and in their closet, right? Managing their wardrobe, because you have to have rotation.
100%. Yeah. Absolutely.
Otherwise, stuff just gets worn out.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. We could very easily sell you a $5,000 Laura Piana Super 200s wool and silk suit, but
the ass is going to be gone inside.
Yeah, the reality is if you wear that suit
way too much,
4 or 5 days a week, it'll be toast.
Yep.
Before you know it, right? So, because the higher you get in thread count, the more delicate your material is getting as well, right? So correct. The durability aspect isn't there necessarily. So in order to have a suit that's of that caliber, you have to have a multitude of other pieces in your wardrobe that you can rotate between.
I agree. I remember that happening, and it happened in a client meeting. One of my favorite suits, which was a black, heavy pinstriped Yves Saint Laurent.
Oh,
oof! Damn.
And I just kind of adjusted myself in the seat, and then when you feel the pant just give way.
Oh no! There's nothing.
Come on!
There's nothing worse.
Oh no!
So
just the pop. You're just like,
yeah.
Shit.
That happens.
Yeah. There it is. There it goes.
So yeah, pants went in the trash, but I didn't. It took me a while to get over lose the jacket. I couldn't let the jacket go straight away.
I know.
But to you though, but to your original question though, Jay. So suits and all of that kind of stuff. Where does it fit? How would you approach coming to see JP and Dan?
Right. Well, I wouldn't know where to start in the first place. Honestly, if I didn't know there was such a custom shop such as yours, for example, where I got this from, right? This is a Tip Top special. I went to Tip Top. I didn't know where else to go. I went in and I was like, yeah, it looks pretty snazzy. Mm-hmm. They did some measurements and I'm like, yeah, there you go.
It does look snazzy.
Well, I'll get out of here. You're just saying that. No, you're saying that because I'm recording the podcast. But yeah, it's I wouldn't know where to go other than this. I didn't know. I mean, I'd heard there's leveling up from that, but of course the money thing comes into my mind.
Yeah, of course,
100%.
Yeah, maybe, but yeah.
I think the gap between that shop that you've mentioned and places and the service that Dan and JP are offering is just the passion behind.
Yes.
So the passion behind the dress. Does it look good? I'm going to take it on trust that if I put something on it doesn't look bad, you'll find the words to say, let's look at some different options for you, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
100%.
I say that to Dan all the time, but he just doesn't listen.
No.
Whereas some of these other shops will go, that looks great.
Yeah, of course.
Well, the thing is, because Flattery will get you everywhere and get you the quick sale, but it may not get the long lasting.
Doesn't get the long lasting.
Yeah. I mean, I remember once being in my 20s and I was going to go up to the bar and want to look really good, so I went to some shop inside South Center Mall and I put something on, and the curtain went back. The girl goes, "Oh my god!" Instantly, like credit card.
You're just like, take my money. Take it.
Yeah, whether or not it looked good or not, it didn't matter. She got all the money. So.
Well, and I think it's so interesting too, because like we're gonna touch base on my weight again. It's gonna happen, unfortunately. So I've been like 150 pounds for like the last 10 years, right?
No fluctuations. I'm being serious.
No,
so
no.
I got up to 170 and then back down.
No, nothing. Not a single thing. And JP can attest to this. I eat pizza and donuts about 4 days a week.
Dude, if you saw this guy's diet.
So it's all white food and everything's coming out of a fat fryer, doesn't do anything to the waistline?
No.
Meanwhile, I fast all the time. And,
Right.
No.
in
In the
keto and everything. And I
Yeah.
still got a spare
It-
time. It's fantastic.
In the summer, I might hit about like 146 because of the heat. But anyway, so like to your point though, like when I first started getting into tailored clothing, I went to the Bay and I went to all these different stores, and when I first started my journey, I actually looked back at what I bought, what I wore, and I remember dealing with each individual. And it will be alarming, but there was jackets as high as a size 40 in my closet because I was told that they looked good when I first started. I'm dead serious.
They must have looked like freaking
Yeah.
massive on them.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like
there's enough
literally-
space for you, your wife, and your daughter in there.
yeah, pretty much. It was, and I was very, very like disheartened at it because like I would ask the people, what do you think? And they're like, oh, it looks great. And
Just
I'm
to
like,
make the sale.
just to make the sale.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool. And I really put my trust in them because like I wasn't used to buying tailored clothing when I was in my early 20s, right? And my dad worked in a warehouse, so t-shirt, jeans, and boots. Like that's what he knew. Everything that I know now, I taught myself. It was based on education. It was based on making mistakes. It was based on learning, but I wanted to learn. So I didn't have a father figure to turn around and be like, that looks like shit. You should probably go somewhere else and shop. So I think what to touch base on it, like for somebody who hasn't been through our process, or somebody who maybe hasn't bought tailored clothing at all, we really try and strip the ego out of it. We really try and strip the the pretentiousness out of it. And because at the end of the day, we just want you to be comfortable. We want you to feel happy, and we want you to come back. We're looking more for a relationship and a friendship than we are.
That is such a big deal.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
I'm sold.
We really don't want you to come in and feel like you don't belong, if that makes sense. Like you come in, we just want to be your friend. We want to make you look good, feel comfortable, and that's it. That's the end of the story.
That's why I always feel like tailoring shops, or shops such as like Tip Top, right? That's kind of like that's like every guy's like gateway drug into like the custom suit world, right? They have so many different options. You're able to go in there. They still put a tape around you. They put some stuff on you. So they give you a little bit of that feeling. But where their business is very transactional, that's where we would classify, like Tip Top has customers. We've got clients.
Yes.
Right?
like that.
Where we develop relationships with each individual. We know what's going to look good on somebody. We know what they're doing for work, where they're going for dinner, what kind of car they're driving, where they're hanging out, and what social circles, because ultimately that all comes down to how you present yourself, right? If you're walking into the Glencoe Club and you're driving your beautiful 911, it might not be that, like, it's not ideal for you to be walking into that kind of a situation wearing shorts and a t-shirt.
And that's but that's also a good point, because we're also in the world of where we do have hyper wealth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like we've got hyper wealth now, which is some at levels that are like frankly mind-boggling. And those individuals that are now coming up and getting onto podcasts and having the conversations, those are the ones that are then saying, well, I've got all of this. Look at everything I've got, but I found happiness in a $10 t-shirt, right?
Yeah.
Which don't get me wrong, and this is like open debate around the table. I don't have a problem with that, and I respect that. But there's also part of me that thinks that they're giving up on themselves a little bit as well, because they're giving up a little bit of their identity, which is like, if you want to put a suit on and look a freaking $1 million, then still do it.
Absolutely.
Like you don't have to decrease the way that you look and probably the way that you feel to I don't know, justify something else in your mind or outer critique, folks, all of that kind of stuff, right? Like own the stuff, own the situation that you're in, and own the suit that you're in.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see that as well too, right? And like I think Zuckerberg was like the first person to kind of come out with it. Well, I guess Steve Jobs technically was, right? With the turtleneck all the time.
Yeah.
Right?
All the time.
But it's also now coming out that they spent $600 on a Brunello Cucinelli t-shirt.
Exactly.
I was going to say,
Mark Zuckerberg's wearing a black t-shirt, but it's a custom-made Loro Piana, like woolen cashmere t-shirt that's $1,400.
I don't know how I got there, but I went on the Tom Ford website and I was like, oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
$600 boxers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And,
That's a thing.
and
Oh my God.
$6,500 for a shirt.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm like, in what?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And that's the shirt I will immediately spill spaghetti on.
Yeah. Yeah. But you know what?
You're not even eating spaghetti.
Right? If you spill spaghetti on that shirt, no one will know. Right? So you're good.
It was like it was planned.
Exactly. I love it. There's a time and a place for every wardrobe.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Right,
There's a
yeah.
time and place for that
100%.
shirt too.
The spaghetti shirt.
Yeah. But I think that's to your point though, that I think we were talking about that earlier. I think it's the investment in the dual wardrobe. And I think that's where we're seeing a huge shift in the generation coming up, is where, well, I don't necessarily want 6 to 7 suits in my closet. I don't want the 4 white dress shirts, the 3 blue, and then maybe something for Friday. And then on top of that, have the jeans and t-shirt to go to the Glencoe Club on.
Yes.
Right? Like it's
We're
very
back
much
to the gentleman, the Guy Ritchie thing.
Yeah.
Which is that you can still put a jacket on, but you can put a Fred Perry Merino wool or a Lacoste shirt, long sleeve polo shirt underneath it.
Yep.
Like you
Absolutely.
dress it appropriately.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And you can still do that, which is what I think we touched on with Anna, because Anna was talking about was it the fall of masculinity, or guys just becoming a little bit
just kind of dialing it in to a degree on definitely attitudes, chivalry.
yes,
Yeah.
just appearance in general.
just
Appearance in general.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's the right thing to say, like a lack of pride in an appearance.
Yeah.
And all of that kind of stuff. And to me, that's what this all represents. Again, it's like, it's nice to dress the way that we are. It's nice to go out and
Makes you feel good. It's
feel
just
that way.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's just the average, like the norm in society now. Like you have to fit in, right? And if that's what society's kind of created, unfortunately. And then you have
Yeah,
like
you just said one of those trigger words. I think you're right. Yeah,
Yeah.
the fitting in piece.
unfortunately, like you have to fit in, right? Like especially in like iBanking now, that's a big one, right? Like
It's
if anybody wears anything outside of what the office norm is, you will get ripped to shreds. Like
Is that true? That's right, eh?
Oh man, I remember there was a story about an investment banking firm that we do suits for them still. Their managing director came around. One of the guys had a small tear in his elbow. Grabbed the edge of the elbow and pulled the entire shirt apart.
Oh wow.
A guy came in with
Love
a
it.
pocket on his dress shirt. Senior advisor came in, took the pocket, ripped it right down the front.
like colored shirts for some
Yeah.
firms.
So kind of like
not-
my
not
blue
things.
versus white shirt.
Only way worse.
I was going to say,
Wow.
yeah.
Imagine
Wow.
leaving that event with no right sleeve.
That's awesome. I have like a vision of Alec Baldwin telling
Yeah.
me your coffee is for closers kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
that's kind of the vibe
100%.
I'm getting from this. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wowzers.
100%. So you see a little bit of this like in different environments right now, but I do think that like the younger generation that's coming up now, they've seen a lot of guys that are further along their careers than they are, who had to have always dressed in full like 3-piece suits or 2-piece suits with ties and dress shirt in order to go into, let's say, like we'll just take investment banking as an example.
Yep.
And now these kids can come in wearing a hoodie and a pair of jeans, unless a client walks into the office and they have a jacket there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the model shifted a little bit in that sense. In Calgary, at least, I can't speak to what it's like in the UK right now, but I know that UK was such a big hub for so many people that just dress so well all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
It was required.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that spills down throughout the entire society. When I lived there as a kid, fashion was more important than it was here in Canada.
Yeah, big
Right.
time.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah. Just on your day-to-day wear.
Yeah, always will be.
But my conflict in my own mind here is are we talking about and we've talked about it a lot in our previous episodes. Are we talking about mindset? Are we talking about relationship with self? Are we talking about pride with self? Like, to me, that's probably more to do with the clothing, because you put that to the clothing. Like you I don't know. You worked on cars in the early days. You worked on cars all day long.
Yep.
But the second you weren't driving on cars,
I dressed nicely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So are we talking more about? Yes, there's societal norms and there's societal pressures, but is there a conversation to have about the fact that we probably have in this world where everybody needs to be categorized, for want of a better word? That's what's driving this more. So people are like, oh, I don't need to dress with that because I'm in this category, which means I don't have to do all of that.
But I think, I was just talking with a few friends over lunch yesterday about this. Like, it's so nice to go out. I get it sometimes here and there where somebody be like, man, that is a beautiful jacket.
Yes.
And like, it lightens, like, you feel like you're $1 million, right? Like, you just receive such a good compliment, especially for me personally, because we design and we make all the clothing that I end up wearing. So it's a huge compliment to me. But for anybody, if somebody was to come up to you, let's say you're just going through a grocery store and somebody came up to you and said, man, I love that jacket. Like, I just never thought that, pink and blue would go together that well.
With a splash of yellow.
Right?
Yeah.
And you'd be like, hey, thank you very much. I feel like, and it's really happened again, like during COVID and after that entire time, and I see it happen with me, and I hate myself for it, where like in my head, if I'm sitting in a restaurant and somebody's wearing that jacket, I'm like, man, that's a fucking sweet jacket. And then I don't verbalize it to you. It's like, well, what good does that do? Like, at least just go up to the guy and tell him, like, man, that's a super nice jacket that you're wearing, right?
Guys compliment each other.
100%.
Seriously, all the time.
100%. And I think that like we lost it a little bit, but like we need to kind of like bring that back. Like there's been times like we were sitting down, there's a guy at the table next to you wearing this beautiful watch, like, and in my head I'm like, holy fucking shit, like that watch is unbelievable. And then you just keep that like in your mind.
Yes.
Right? If somebody was to like look at you and be like, man, that's such a nice watch you're wearing.
Yeah.
Like you'd be like, hey, thank you very much. I appreciate that, right? And then that kind of encourages you to wear that again, or potentially maybe go and find out what else is different that you could rock for a blazer or for a full suit that might get more compliments.
Or throw more money at that sales lady at the mall.
Exactly. Exactly.
It is, yes.
But I find that genuine
stuff over there.
I find that genuine compliments have kind of gone downhill, and that sucks, because I find that as individuals we crave that.
Oh my goodness.
So how did we get there then?
I think.
How did we get to not saying, "You look freaking phenomenal tonight"?
Yeah.
And I've already said it to this dude.
Oh, stop it, Simon.
But and like this, so I've already checked this out, because I'm kind of like, okay, so we've got rollover cuffs.
Yeah.
We've got two
Single
buttons,
breasted.
single breasted. I'm
Right.
kind of like, because I'm like, so what I would do is, the only thing that I would, this is me, I was like, put the lapel down and then,
Cheers, guys.
Yeah. Drop the lapel.
thank you,
touch.
gentlemen. Well, do it inverted, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do an inversion on it.
Yeah.
Because again, it's. I love the.
Good job, Dan.
I love the tone. Yeah, good job.
Yes,
Dan.
thank
He
you,
got
Dan.
off his wallet. What?
That's just keeps the.
Do you want to bring out wallets?
Sponsored by. Sponsored by.
Man.
But so I guess we're saying like society's just got a way to go then, eh? Still got a way to recover.
I think we're trending in the right direction. What do you think, Dan?
See that?
Do you think people get?
That's where I slightly disagree, because I don't think we're trending in the right direction, unfortunately. And what I will say, because a lot of people have like we've kind of talking about Calgary and whatever else, and I'm from Ontario originally, and a lot of my work was primarily done in Toronto, Mississauga, and I think it's a very much larger demographic. But what I will say is that I think that Calgarians personally, if they do dress up, especially I would take that age range of like 35 to like 50, 55. If they do go out, it may not be a jacket, it may not be a suit, but at least it's a well-fitting shirt and like a well-fitting pair of jeans. Because where when you go out in Toronto, it's like if you're wearing like a tracksuit that has Gucci written all over it, you're technically dressed
Okay.
Like you're dressed up. Yeah.
Wow.
You're like 100%. Like it's very much like the whole like the Balenciaga runners.
Man, I got a story on this.
Oh man, but that's very much the norm in Toronto, and it's actually like, in my opinion, I think it's far worse than like, I would have respect for somebody if they're like, listen, I don't want a jacket, but they put on a nice shirt, put on a nice pair of pants. Hats off to you. That's more than 80% of the people will do. Mm-hmm. But sadly, like I do think that the generation that's coming up is losing that aspect of it, because one, like, I think the compliments are going way downhill, like JP said. Like, nobody's willing to just kind of be like, hey man, like, I like those pants, or I like that jacket. Like, I saw a guy walking into Blowers in Grafton, which is just down below, about 3 days ago, and he's wearing these phenomenal teal pants, and I stopped and was like, those are fucking sick pants. And he's like, thanks man, nice jacket. Yeah, right. Like, I think that very much is going out the window, and in turn we're not seeing it trending in the right direction. That's just my personal opinion on it. I think it's taken a little bit of a slow roll downhill.
I wonder if that comes with age as well. I mean, Simon and I discussed this in the previous podcast as well, like some of the things that we thought we shouldn't do, the rails that men had to fit on, like you're not supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that as a guy. But as you get older and a little bit more worldly, shall we say, you realize you can actually compliment another guy and it's okay.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Women do it all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
Something we can learn, that's for sure.
We're in Cefalù in Sicily. We go to this one Michelin star restaurant that's there. The chef that opened up this Michelin star restaurant trained under 4 different 3 Michelin star restaurants around the world. He's currently got his first Michelin star. This place was phenomenal. Like, the decor in this place, the lighting, the tables, the placemats, like your silverware, the glassware that you drink out of, everything was like meticulously crafted. No detail was left like overseen.
Deliberate.
100%.
Yep.
100%. The table next to us, a guy and his girlfriend. He's wearing Gucci slides. He is wearing Moncler shorts.
Come on.
And like a Balenciaga like jacket. Like a puffer jacket. It's 28 degrees in Sicily at night.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I'm like, man, is this what it's come down to?
Man's be hot, wasn't there?
Right? And I'm just like, dude.
That's not getting a compliment. Right?
You've gotta, I don't know.
Read the room, be aware.
Respect to the people that ended up putting that entire show together for you.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a very good yes.
Yep.
And you raise yes.
But my goodness, that's
the person that's put that together has quite clearly worked his ass off.
Yeah, day and night.
Tired.
So therefore, like, respect what you're walking into.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Take off your damn hat when you're inside the restaurant.
Yes.
This is actually a super good story. So Bill Guerin from the Minnesota Wild, he's their general manager. So we'll fly down there twice a year in order to go and do all the suits for the Minnesota Wild. The rule in the Minnesota Wild's cafeteria that they have inside their rink, not a single player is allowed to have their hat on at the table, whether they're eating breakfast, lunch, or dinner.
Well done.
Love it.
Cheers to Billy G for that.
Yeah. 100%. Well, that's what I was taught when I was younger.
It's bringing standards back.
And whether I was going into an expensive restaurant or into Joey's Only Seafood, like, the hat was coming off at a restaurant.
Yes.
And that seems to have disappeared.
Yeah.
I specifically remember when I was a kid, because the big thing when we were kids was like the keg, right? Like, that was kind of like you knew you were going to the keg because it was like a birthday, a special event, graduation, whatever.
They still have phenomenal steak. They don't have
they don't. Like, it's been consistent for how many years now? Yeah, 100%. And I will never forget, like, as a kid, I had to wear a pair of trousers, a belt, and a dress shirt. That was a given. Yep. Like, you could not, like, it was inappropriate to wear anything else. And then I would say when there was like a period of time where I didn't go to the keg, but I went back with my grandma when I was like 18. And I remember the tradition of like going to the keg, you had to wear something nice.
Yep.
And then I went into the keg and I sat down, and I'll never forget the guy who walked by me. He was wearing like athletic pants and a hoodie and running shoes. And I just was like, when did this change? Like,
Right.
when did
the dress code drop?
When did the dress code drop? And then his girlfriend was wearing like leggings and a sweater. And I was just like, I'm like, fuck, I'm overdressed. Like when, but it switched.
The fault is that folks have, and I'm just putting this in as a maybe. People will probably look at that and go, oh, okay, so I probably haven't got to try so hard, rather than doing the opposite.
Yes.
Like saying, yeah, okay, you look fine. Like you saw your guy in Sicily,
Yeah.
and thought, okay, whatever, that's you, but there's no way I'm like a month of Sundays I'm ever going to walk into a restaurant at this standard looking like that.
Especially in a country like Italy, where people get dressed up to go to the grocery store.
Yep.
Yeah.
No chance.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's been a slow degradation, if that's the right word to use in this as well. Like I remember my grandfather, he passed away in 2000, right up until his dying day. The second he was traveling anywhere, he was dressed up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
And now it's not. It's
Was my great uncle? Well, I guess it was the brother of my grandmother, but so I guess I can call him granddad. But anyways, and I'm talking a long time ago now, but his mum brought him and his brothers and my grandma up. The second they didn't even have to leave the house, but you got up and you got yourself ready for the day.
Yeah.
Yep. And ready for the day meant that you were presentable. At the very least, you were presentable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we were talking, he told me this story. He got one of his first jobs after the war was rebuilding. This is before he got into the oil and gas industry. Was rebuilding Coventry. So the Coventry Blitz was very close to the London Blitz, and got bombed to hell and back because it was manufacturing and engineering like 101. He went out day to day with his hair was done and he had a shirt and tie on.
Yeah.
To lay bricks.
Yep.
And that was how he was.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's an amazing point. Like, it didn't matter what you did. Your attire was dress shirt, tie, jacket.
Because it was about being presentable.
Yeah, having
100%.
pride in your appearance, I think, what
Yeah.
it comes down to, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Because he taught me. God, I'm remembering all this story. So he was definitely the person that introduced me to tailoring and tailored shops and menswear and stuff like that, and being bold enough to put like a different color pair of slacks, as he called them, with a slightly brown or beige slack with a Royal Navy blue blazer with brass buttons on.
Oh yeah.
Shirt and tie, but then he would dress it with, if it was cold, he would put knitwear underneath it.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was like, you do what? He's like, watch this. And he'd dress up, do his hair, and it would be like, oh man, that just looks...
Lee was famous for this.
With his
he always had a nice, like he had this one outfit. It was like a black pinstripe suit. He used to wear his white TM Lewin collared shirt, and then he had this black V-neck.
This is TM Lewin.
It's beautiful collar. You always know it's a TM Lewin because the collar sits perfectly.
Yes.
And he had this black V-neck that he used to have on with no tie, and I was like, man, that guy looks fucking sharp. I would have never thought about that shit. Why didn't I think
but it's awesome. And then later on, I can't remember what birthday it was, but anyway, somebody said, what do you want? And I wanted some, and Dan knows part of this story, but I said, I want a pair of Bugsies. And they were like, what do you mean you want a pair of Bugsies? And I said, I want a pair of Bugsy Malone gangster pants. So here, like it's got to be here. And then braces. Yeah. And I don't want clip. I want
button in.
Yeah. So buttoned in, like 2 at the front, 1 at the back. Yeah. Wide waistband, so 3-button waistband. I went 3-button. Yep.
There you go.
I went
not messing around this point.
I went 3-pleat as well.
Woof. Oh, I haven't seen a 3-pleat trouser.
Oh, these flipping pants were just in a very heavy black and white check.
Love it.
Actually, black and white.
So just putting them on was a statement. Yeah. And when I first met Joe, like we went, she's like, "What are those?" I'm like, "Just let me have my moment, please."
I'm trying to impress you here. Take it.
Yeah. Shut up.
Yeah. Let me have this.
But it was that whole thing of standing on the plinth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the tailor who is named, come on, memory, don't let me down now. Lawrence Baldwin. So I remember he said, "So which side do you dress now, Simon?" I'm like, "What? What does that mean? What does that mean?" He's like, and he just kind of went, "Which side do you primarily hang, Simon?" I was like, left.
Yeah.
Because-
that's great.
because
I
again,
love it. Yeah.
There we go. That's the new one
Yeah.
in the shop.
Right?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
Which
that's
side?
great.
Which side do you dress? I'm
Yeah.
like, east or west, north, south.
Well,
What are
that
you
should
talking
be
about?
quote on the website now.
Oh, there you go.
Actually, you know what? That would
You're
probably
welcome.
get a lot of-
So I guess we're your sponsors.
Yeah.
Apparently that was because the way that you construct and knit and tailor a pair of pants.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Has to do with that.
Has
Absolutely
to do
does.
with it,
And I also think, like, going back to the point of, like, men kind of dressing down a little bit, it's interesting because when we see guys who have gone through a divorce recently,
Sorry.
they come back.
You're hitting too close to home.
He's just got engaged. This one's married.
Yeah.
Don't spoil anything.
Okay, here we go. Continue.
I feel like when those guys end up coming back in, they're like, okay, I need to refresh the wardrobe here. I'm getting back out on dates. I need to get some new shirts. I need to start looking good. So you instinctively, you know it in the back of your mind. Right?
But at some point in that process, the guy's given up on himself.
It's gotten too comfortable.
Yes.
Mhm. Been there, done it.
Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Nothing to impress. No one
Yes,
else. Yeah,
exactly.
100%.
So maybe it's not our fault for not complimenting them. Maybe it's the wife's fault for not being like, wow, you look really handsome wearing a nice jacket. You should really do that more often.
You know what? That's actually sadly very accurate.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
there's a lot.
I needed a minute just to digest that.
Yeah. It's actually a very common occurrence where men, like, because that is the primary reason. I mean, most men, it's the primary reason why they dress up is to
Of course.
attract whatever sex they're trying to attract.
Well, you're posturing. That was the
Yeah.
point. It's all posturing.
Absolutely.
That's where the whole artwork.
I'm going to be the
posturing.
best person on stage tonight with a guitar.
Yeah.
With
There you
this
go.
going.
100%.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you don't get the compliments. It's like, okay, well, why am I trying?
Yeah.
Like, why do I keep putting in the effort? So
It takes a lot of effort
Yeah.
in order to dress up and have things.
Well, maybe you do it.
Effort.
For you, maybe you do it for you.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I mean about the relationship itself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we do.
Like,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
like you are getting dressed a certain way because of you,
Yes.
and that has to be the primary motivator.
Yes.
But I'm worried if that sounds a little bit too aggressive.
No, I
I don't
don't.
think so.
I don't think so. Like, I think that's you hit the nail on the head, Simon. Seriously, like I think you just need to. It needs to be like almost like you need to be really selfish with it.
Yep.
Because like I am. I'm gonna be honest. I don't give a fuck if my wife likes what I'm wearing or not. I don't even care if JP likes what I'm wearing or not. I dress because it makes me happy. It makes me feel good. Like I have to be comfortable in it. And I don't own a blue suit. I own one, and it's going in the garbage because I never really wear it. But other than that, I do not own a blue suit. I own yellow, I own purple, I own orange, I own green, I own teal. Like,
Won't do blue, hey?
This summer it will be pink, like pink, purple, more greens. Like that's what this
Flat
summer
pink,
will be.
or are we going checked?
No,
pinstripe?
we're going check. Simon.
Oh, yeah.
We're going check.
Wool, linen, silk,
Wool,
check,
linen,
pink.
silk, pink.
From what I hear,
Yeah.
pink is a very manly color.
Yeah.
It's
Takes a man to wear pink.
Well, that too, exactly. It's been
He's wearing it
demonized
right
for years, but yeah, my understanding, if you have a nice white shirt, you go to battle and you get a bit of blood on you and try and wash it out, what does your shirt become?
Pink.
It's a sign of manliness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's I've got to say, and I think one of the proudest dad moments was when my eldest he graduated high school, but whatever. But he came in and he said, "Dad, I want a suit."
Nice.
And I'm not gonna name drop, but we went and had an experience, and we managed to find somebody that we always went back to, and he was good. Like he knew his job, and you as soon as you looked at him,
yeah,
because he said he was like, well, why are we going back to see? His name's Steve. He's like, well, we're going to go see Steve. I'm like, just look at how the dude's presented, and he was presented.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like, that's why we're going to see Steve, because he will give us, and he gave good, I don't think he's there anymore, but he gave us good guidance on, the buttons, the stitch, the cut.
Yeah.
And when Sam wanted a 3-piece, he was like, well, what style do you want to have your waistcoat? And Sam would, like, he had this vision in his mind. Well, I want it to look like this, and it was kind of like, well, no. So it's like, again, like, look, these are the different things that we can do. And then it got into the shirt, and so that was a proud moment in seeing that, and seeing pull the
100%,
absolutely,
pulling the suit on as well.
Yep.
I think I've already shared with Dan. My daughter's 12. She's already. So when are we going to the Kingley, Dad? When can I get
Love
a suit?
it. Love it.
Just relax.
Yeah.
You've got a few more years yet.
Yeah. Few more.
I think that's arguably like one of my most favorite parts about this business is you take a client from initial consultation to their first fitting. When they get their suit,
Oh my God.
You're looking at it on a swatch that's a 4x3, right? So you don't know exactly what it's going to look like as a full 3-piece or 2-piece garment. When that client comes in and that garment's steamed and it's pressed and it's ready to go and he's got a nice shirt on with it, the look on that person's face when they turn around and they see themselves in the mirror, like, I think that's just like, honestly,
that's delayed gratification again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's like delayed gratification for us as well.
Yeah.
Because when we see like the happiness of that person, it's like, oh, this is why it's worth it.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is why.
But at that point, you're also inserting yourself into that person, into that family unit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because then at that point, which is like, to me, the ultimate. That's the ultimate, is where you're at.
Yeah.
Because then it's, I need something. Well, where am I going to go? I'm going to go see Dan at JP.
Yeah.
I need some help putting some eye trust. Well, I'm going to go have a conversation with Simon then.
Yeah.
I'm going to go have a conversation with Jay if it's marketing and all of this kind of stuff. Because you're then part of the family, right?
Yep.
Because then you've got people that are, I'll go back to the barber. It's like, where are you going? I'm going to go see Sal. His name's Sal, for a bit.
Yep.
And I'll come back in an hour or whatever he decides to do. Whether or not he's got time, and if I'm back in over an hour, then I've had hot towels, a shave, and a freaking whatever else he's wanting to do.
Yeah.
It's like, I think I'm going to whack. One day I turned up and he decided to wax this bit on my forehead. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? But I'm just
doing it. Just take it.
But my point is, when you've got your relationship like that with a tailor, bespoke clothing person, with people that you trust in a relationship, you're not.
No, and
like if you say, "Oh, put this color on, Simon. I think this would fit. This would look," and immediately I know I'd be like, "You sure?" And then it'll be like, "Oh, okay."
The best salesmen are your friends, not salesmen.
Yeah,
correct.
So when you walk through the mall and somebody's trying to sell you at their a la carte, whatever thing of some perfume they have, zero sales. When you become my best friend first,
100%.
You're not selling anymore. You're just you're recommending. A friend's recommending something.
There is no better feeling. Like I've found that most of our conversations don't end up with like, let us know if you need anything. It's more like, hey, do you golf? If you like that, like that's a big part of, or if you ever want to grab a drink, please let me know, right? And then I think that goes a lot further than extending the invitation to the next sale.
Mm-hmm. Where do you see female tailoring going?
Oh, you know what? I'll jump in on this one just because I had a really interesting conversation with a personal stylist. She's out of Edmonton a couple of days ago, and her name's Shelby, and she does a very good job. She bounces back and forth between Calgary and Edmonton. But my initial conversation was to see, what can we do from the male aspect of it? And I was very abruptly surprised that she was more interested in the female aspect of it. So female
and both of you guys have been in London, you'll know that the female tailoring world is huge.
Just as high, like 100%. It's just as prevalent as the men's tailoring. And I think JP has had a few female opportunities as well. And then I've had a couple, and I think it's very much coming into play. It's becoming one of those things where women find it just as hard as men. and the amount of options for them. Like the amount of options off the rack is there's so much of it.
Oh, there's
but
so much. You're almost garment blind, aren't you?
100%. But you know, they struggle with fit more than men do because their bodies are significantly different. So I see the women's tailoring world taking a huge spike, especially in Canada. Like in other parts of the world, I think it's already significantly higher, because in other parts of the world, you know, like London is a great example of Savile Row, right? Like that's already a huge aspect. And then if you take like the Cifanellis of Paris, and if you take the Rubinaccis of Milan and Rome and whatever else, they're already just being like, yeah, sure, like we'll do it for you, no problem. They're already set up, they're already equipped to do it. Women have already been asking them longer. So when it comes to, I mean, we can use Calgary as an example. I think it's only going to increase, because I think women are very much, how many times do we do a wedding consultation and women sit there and be like, what the like
This is so much cooler.
I just spent $6,000 on my wedding dress. I got a tiny glass of champagne and I was in and out in 5 minutes, and they took 3 measurements.
What a wedding dress.
And the wedding dress will take 8 months to arrive.
Yeah.
And most guys' suits take between 4 and 6 weeks.
Yeah. And then we like to think that our experience is a lot more involved, right? So, well, I mean, it is. It's significantly more involved. But that is, I think women are really dying for that same experience, I guess, per se, is like because it's...
Well, that sounds like a market that's right for picking.
It is. I think that market will take a lot of R&D, personally. I think it's going to take a lot of time, commitment, and money. But if you can nail it, absolutely.
Is there manufacturing complexities then, or is it more in the...
Tenfold.
Definitely.
Tenfold. Like women's front darts, for our manufacturer specifically, there's 12.
And a dart is this.
So the dart would be this specific part in the jacket.
Yep.
So that's just what kind of helps create the shape from the chest down to the stomach. If you take that dart out of the jacket, then it essentially becomes a box.
Right.
So for women, there's 12 different types of front darts.
Whereas men have one?
Two.
Sorry, you got large and small.
We really complicated the spectrum there.
There we go.
But no, so it is very complex. There's a lot to it. And then, I mean, if we really want to get into it, I think you have to be set up appropriately to do it as well, too. I think there's a lot of comfortability aspects that you have to create. Women need to feel just as comfortable as men. And I think that the one thing that a lot of, I'm going to jump back to men for a second. I think that one thing a lot of stores for menswear that they get wrong is the comfortability factor. And I say that because, like, how many times do we put, you know, we ask men, you know, how much do you weigh? And then all of a sudden it's just like, I don't know. I don't want to talk about it. Or we have a scale and it's like, I could put you in a room full of 10 men and I guarantee you 9 of them will be like, I'm not stepping on that. Right. So like but once again, it's just, it comes back to the comfortability of things, and it would be the same for women. I think you have to be appropriately set up to create a comfortable environment and experience for them.
And it's fun because to talk about that, there's broad generalizations about what women care about and what men care about, and this idea that men don't care about their looks at all.
It's so far from the truth.
Oh my goodness! Yes.
Like deep down inside. Yeah. If you really, you like it.
I don't
believe
it when people say, I don't really care. I'm like, you do.
Yeah, you do.
Bullshit.
Yeah,
you do.
Sorry, bullshit.
You've given up a little bit, but you care.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I mean, I've always been fighting my spare tire my entire life. And trust me, this has been on my mind since my late teens. Like this is not something if I let myself go, it's not because I didn't care about that. Like it's always there. So I could definitely see that the scale question definitely triggering like hold on.
And and the complexity. I forgot myself then, but my dad was for a large part of me growing my family life. My dad was in the dry cleaning industry, and I remember he came home one day and he'd had in his shop Frank Bruno's suit. He'd had a range of Frank Bruno suits. So Frank Bruno was the world heavyweight champion back in the 80s, 90s. He had a couple of... Frank went up against Mike Tyson a couple of times. So in and around that time, my dad had his suits to dry clean. And he came home one day and he was like, oh, I've had, and he used to have rally drivers, race suits to clean and all of this kind of stuff. And I did some fun stuff. I worked with him for a while. We cleaned all of there's this thing in Birmingham called the National Exhibition Centre. And me and my dad, we dry cleaned, we took all the curtains down, including the drapes, took them back to the shop, cleaned them and rehung them. We got that done in a week. That was a lot of work, that was. But anyways, but yeah, he came home and he said, I've never ever dry cleaned a suit like so big, like because they put back to your point of yes, you've got large or you've got small darts. This dude had darts and he had extra flipping panel. Like there were extra panels put into this suit to make it. And he said it looked. I was like, well, what did it look like? He said it looked like absolute garbage on the hanger. But when you put it on the on the human on this like gigantic boxer, because he was, I think he's 6'5" or something. So yeah, you know.
Yeah, no.
It's like so you kind of doing that.
Yeah.
It's a big difference. A lot of work goes into that. Yeah. So leading on the female tailoring.
Yes.
I've got a 1,000,001 question to ask this young man across the table. So, your fiance, bride's dress, or is she getting married in a suit?
She's doing bride's dress for sure. For sure. I think that this is like the moment that like she's probably dreamed of since she was like 10. Right? And just like Pinteresting different dresses on her Pinterest board this entire time. Right? How did I get? I wonder how I ended up choosing what ring I was gonna go for. Maybe I just hacked into her Pinterest one day and just ended up finding the one that was liked over and over and over and over again. So I think that the same is gonna apply with the wedding dress, man. She's gonna do a stunning wedding dress. As soon as we got engaged, everybody was like, oh, the suit guy's getting engaged, right? Those suits are about to be so nice at this wedding. My mom very humbly just looked at me and was like, son, no one's going to look at you.
No, it's very true.
She's like, you could wear a $6,000
That's
handmade.
very wise words, yeah.
She's like, you could wear a $6,000 handmade Laura Piana suit. No one's going to care.
Yep.
I was like, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. We get it.
It
kills you inside. But
very true. We are just the side piece, unfortunately, in that show.
Yeah. But to Dan's point, I'm doing it for me.
There we go. Perfect. I love
Listen, there might be kingly heels in there.
Yeah.
We don't know.
We do. I've done a pair of sneakers for her. I've done some custom made heels for her. I've done a pair of custom made sneakers for her in the past. So she does have some garments from us for sure.
Oh, wonderful.
And I think that like as we learn more about the women's wear industry and as we become more proficient in it, because it's such a different beast in general.
Yes.
You know, like with menswear, for instance, like you've got single-breasted, you got double-breasted, right?
Change the lapels around, make a big flare them, whatever.
Exactly. How much can you really change on a man's suit?
Yeah.
Right? Whereas like women's wear, it's like, oh, do you want no right sleeve? Do you want no left sleeve? Do you want these crazy perpendicular angles off of your shoulders?
Yes.
Do you want
3/4 and then full?
Correct.
Asymmetrical.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you want an asymmetrical jacket with a zipper going across your chest? Like, it's just like, what? Man, this is nuts. So I think that when we do women's wear, when we initially start, it will be some fixed styles. Yeah. So, we'll do single-breasted jackets. We'll do a double-breasted jacket. We'll do pencil skirts. We'll do the trousers. If they want to do a bell-bottom trouser, that's no problem. It's just a difference in a measurement, right? But I think that we'll come out with like a fairly basic platform in order to be able to do our women's wear when it does come out. And as time goes on, slowly add different things that our manufacturer is proficient in doing, because that's the other thing is that we don't want to put everything on the board and then
half-ass
everything. Exactly. Right. Yep. It has to be still congruent with what we're doing on the menswear side, because the women that are interested in getting a blazer or a suit done probably have seen a man in a suit that we've made.
Yes. I didn't think of that point. Okay. Or yes. So it's more likely to be a referral rather than
Oh, absolutely.
A lady kind of looking at the look and going, okay, I want to have a more tailored. Totally. Yes, you can get the usual frayed tweed stuff, but I want to elevate that, and I want to have something more that type of mindset potentially a little bit less than the referral method.
Yeah,
Correct.
exactly.
Put it this way, it'd be years before you see it on our website.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah, just
I hope
because of
it's-
the vastness.
I hope it's not. I hope it's sooner. But
Well, it's client driven, isn't it?
that's the other big thing, right?
Like it's on request. Like the more and more
course.
people that come
Yep.
knocking on the door saying, "Hey, I want," you only need a few more of my daughter's mentality.
Yeah, it's fair.
Pretty much.
Exactly.
Right? And
Yeah.
watches the Kingman like on repeat. I am. This is what I'm wearing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, fair enough.
Tell your daughter we'll start a separate line for her called the Queenly.
Oh, no.
There you go. That's the thing.
Oh, Simon, you're in trouble, man. You're screwed.
I've known that for years.
Don't tell me that.
The second she was born, I knew that.
We know what she's gonna dress up in to go to grad now.
Yeah. Well, I think that was
She's got it
I
already?
think that was
Yeah,
our
it was-
conversation
it was
anyway,
about
wasn't it?
grad,
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Grad
she
suit.
knows. She's got it. Dad, when can I go? It's like you've still got some more growing to do.
Yeah, a few more years. A few more
A
years.
few more years.
100%.
So just chill.
I love it.
100%.
Wonderful. Well, guys, this has been a great podcast. So
Loved it.
informative. It just, I'll be coming to you guys. That's for sure.
Thank you guys so
Thank
much
you
for
guys.
taking the
Thanks
time
for
out of
having
your
us.
guys' time.
Yeah.
Here in your beautiful,
Absolutely.
beautiful space here.
This
Yeah,
is quite the
this
space. Yeah, I know where I'm coming.
Beautiful.
Thank you, gentlemen.
We
Thank you
we
very
really
much.
appreciate
You
it.
can find us on social media at the Kingly.
There we go.
You can find us on. You can find Dan on social media at Dan Gigante.
Dan.Gigante.
Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Forget about
Yeah, and then website as well too.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
100%.
And let us know if there's something that we've missed in this recording that we can do again.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do another
100%.
episode about
Oh,
it
yeah,
because
for
again,
sure.
I think we've had a great
Mm.
chat.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah.
again, we've only skimmed the
Oh my
surface of
goodness,
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
again, a lot of it goes.
Think of another episode for sure.
Think of
We'll
another
talk about
episode
it for
because
sure.
I think there's so much here that goes into the general feel of what the Yes Men are about, and generally we're about the passion and the need to do something and the reinvention and the relationships and the attitude around something, right? The attitude is not kind of walking around going, doing all of that kind of stuff. It's having the right attitude to put the approach together to
100%.
to make a difference in today's world. So
Yep. I think there's a huge education premise to it as well too that we touched on some of it, but we didn't really touch on a whole lot of it. So
but at the very least, it's a fascinating world, and everybody should have the experience
At least once.
At least once of a tailor suit and the feeling of feeling $1,000,000 when you've put the design together, when you've worked with people that you trust, and then it's like, oh, look at that, and I've got my initials on the cuff.
Yeah.
It's actually very common. People get so happy about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seriously,
brilliant.
yeah. It's so funny, especially if they don't know what's coming. They're like, oh my god.
Right?
That's a thing.
I
Yeah.
have arrived.
Yeah. I look fucking good.
Whereas we'll sit there and we'll be like, fuck, that shoulder line looks so good.
You gotta fixate it.
Yeah.
like
Oh my God.
that sleeve line
Yeah.
just hits so perfect, or
Yeah.
like that waistband is situated like just at the right point on that person's hip,
Yeah.
and the other person's like, man, fuck, look at mine.
I love it.
Oh, it's so true. It's so
Oh,
true.
man.
It's so
That's
funny.
hilarious.
Well,
yes,
thanks
please.
for joining us for another episode of Chat with the Yes Men. Don't forget to subscribe,
Comment.
all the stuff, comment on YouTube, follow us on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts now,
Amazon.
right? The other one, Spotify.
We
and all
are
the other
eradicating
podcasts.
excuses for people to watch us.
Exactly right. Yeah. We can't find you anywhere. You're not looking hard enough.
The subscription, I'd like people to subscribe a little bit more.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Based on views,
Yeah.
like our views we're upside down on views versus people that are subscribed to the channel.
Yeah. We need way more subscriptions for sure. Please subscribe, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Wonderful.
watch. Give us some tips on what you want to see
Yeah.
from us.
Exactly. And don't forget to make sure your shoes look good and that they match the belt, right?
Hey, there we go. No black
right.
shoes, brown belt.
That's
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Dan's just.
Yeah,
oh.
right. I just did that.
Next time,
today.
Simon. Next time,
They
Simon.
match.
Next time.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. This has been a great episode. And until next time, be good to each other.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
See you later.
Bye.